So I want to give you some reminders today, again, about the necessity of returning to direct presence, what that means, what it entails, and really just like a deep existential reminder about why you need to have practices for getting yourself back into direct presence. Now, what is direct presence? It's a type of alertness to your wakefulness, to your current existential time stream, so to speak. And in our daily lives, which are completely, mostly run by conditions, by conditioning, by habits, we are constantly in a state of forgetfulness about this basic condition that we're in. So we have all these conditions on returning to direct presence. And so it's often the case that maybe we'll only return to direct presence in, like we've had an accident or an injury. And you can recall times in your own life where you may have felt your own survival was threatened or you perceived that threat. Strong fear, strong survival networks like reactivated, and you return to direct presence very quickly, and depending on the situation, very deeply, perhaps. And we may have these other conditions that return us to direct presence, or we may have like procedures where we will allow ourselves to like get back into that state. So again, like it's often something like an accident or a perceived threat to your existence or your survival in some way, deep necessity, and or sometimes maybe it's with other people, like you will allow yourself to access this state with other people or a specific person, through or with whom you kind of like allow yourself to get into that focus or that zone. And what this is a kind of like awakening of a certain kind of alertness. Again, it's like an existential alertness. It's not just like having attention or focus. It's a very deep kind of wakefulness to your state here. Really, it's like this place you get into where you finally understand, like, F it, right? Like, this is now. This is now. I've got to do this now. I've got to be this now. It's a type of energetic activation that can pull you out of your sleep, out of your deep sleep, right? We have layers of sleep. I can tell you about that. Or maybe you were in some kind of pattern or like some situation where you felt like, okay, now you've really effed it up. You've really like, and then you get a second chance and that's your chance. Like, that's it, right? That's the moment of this kind of direct alertness to your whole situation. You're like, this is it. I'm not effing this up. And so this type of direct alertness not only like pulls you out of your layers of deep sleep, like it's that type of energy, but it also pulls you into a vision about your own commitment to your condition, to yourself, to your new future. Like you're owning it. And remember that great quote by Doris Lessing, right? The conditions are always impossible. So if there's something that you want to do, you have to start just doing it now. And so we come up with all these reasons why, like, we can't, which are usually about like, we have the perfect vision in our mind and we know we're so aware of the gap, right? Like, I need this first and I need this and I have to do this. And it creates a gap. And so doing it now is really more about energetically, like symbolically at least, like you have to show yourself, like, are you writing down the plan? Are you taking one action today? Like something that shows that you are doing it now. And just as there are like many layers of sleep, right? Like we've got like the superficial layers of our habit, and then we have some very deep levels of sleep. So too, we have like different levels of presence. So we may be like engaged in like one of our gifts, like something that comes really easy to us, like something that's pleasurable, enjoyable, like maybe you are like a super avid fiction reader and you are on top of like all the latest releases in a certain genre and you know all the authors and everything. That's like a really rich field of presence for you. But to what degree, like, is that waking you up? Is that bringing you into an alertness about your life and your condition? Like, your F it, I need to do this now. And it's fine if it's not, because you have another area where that will happen for you. And maybe for you, it happens what, you met a particular person and then you realized, like, oh, okay, like, now I know where I am, what I have to do, what I want to do. Like it's a way of it brought it into a kind of clarity for you that maybe you didn't have before. So my point was just that like there's all kinds of like enjoyable things that we may do. Like we love skiing or something, and that may or may not be an activity that pulls you into this type of like truly like existential alertness, like to your whole condition. Like, I'm here, this is actually my life. Like, is the skiing like, is it just like super soothing? Like the exercise feels great and everything, or you get the runner's high and that's nice. And then, but you have to do it again the next day and the next day. And do you see what I'm getting at? Like what will compel you into that state in such a way that you're like committed to that state, you're activating it, you're like in that all the time. And maybe that's not even possible, right? Like we are energetic bodies. We're not going to be like running a certain degree of energy like consistently, like all day, like until we fall asleep again. Our energy fluctuates, obviously, but to put this into a metaphor, like a computational metaphor, you need to rewrite your own programming such that like when you power down at night or you let your computer go to sleep, it's not just something you stored in the memory, right? The RAM, which is like volatile, it's going to disappear overnight. You need something that's like committed to storage, or you're rewriting like your operating system files. You need to be able to like access that new paradigm for yourself the next day. Like you can't just rely on all of these accidents for like recreating that state. And frankly, this is also part of what it means to die before you die, right? Like that's that ancient dictum of awareness, of wakefulness to your full condition. Here, dying before you die involves this kind of commitment to the higher vision of yourself, the higher center of gravity that is like compelling you towards your own higher growth, your own higher timeline. And you're going to have to like die in little pieces to all these other accidents of your life. You have to realize like, what are all these other illusions of my life? Not in the sense that they're not real, but in the sense that they're just completely ephemeral. They're inconsequential. Like when you actually do transition, those things won't have mattered. They didn't contribute to like your higher soul mission, your higher purpose, your higher timeline, your higher center of gravity, so to speak. You've got to die to all those tiny little inconsequential conditions, like, oh, the weather is really bad, it's like really cold out, like I can't, I can't do this, like I don't want to go, I don't want to do that thing right now. You got to die to the weather. Or like, I feel like I'm having kind of a bad day, like it just feels kind of blah, like my mind feels blah, like I feel lost, like, they canceled on me, like what is this, right? You have to die to all that. Like you have to get into a place where you can ignore that and like still access and like commit to this higher timeline that you're on. And so if you know like Carl Jung, you have heard about the great work, the Hieros Gamos, Sacred Union. it's more than just like that kind of union. It's really, this is also part of it, right? This kind of anchoring in your higher wakefulness and really getting to a stable place of having transcended all these inconsequential accidents, basically, that kind of like consume your attention, but they're illusory, like they're ephemeral, they're not going to matter in the end, and you're going to be like, why did I pay attention to that? Why did I let that stop me? So this is the great work of this constant returning to direct presence, like the real conditions of like, you're here right now, like fully waking up to that. You don't need another reminder. You have it all. You have to remind yourself. And part of this dying before you die is dying to this deep habit we have of like watching our lives, like watching the world, watching other people's lives, rather than remembering our own original life. Like we are our life, our own original life stream, like this fully embodied kind of realization. So it's obviously so hard. Like, this is why it's also the great work, right? You may have given up and not realized it. Like, maybe you gave up like 10 years ago and you haven't really realized that that's what you did energetically. But you stopped committing because it is hard. There's a lot of conditions that kind of run against us. And there's a lot of like narratives we can get lost in, and we have to master the daily energetic cycles that our bodies go through. So it's hard, and that's why we're constantly forgetting. So there's the fatigue, and then there's this genuine forgetting of what's actually happening. And then the other issue holding you back is the arising of like so many kinds of limiting beliefs that you are not even aware of as limiting beliefs, because they're really like they're narratives you've invested in so that you don't have to face some deeper fear. And that's where it's really all about like you're trying to control because of the fear, right? And this is where it gets really metaphysical, mystical, even things we're not aware of, like things beyond the ordinary. So it's difficult to talk about. So this is where it goes back to that video I did like a month, 2 months ago, maybe, on diligence and like overcoming our own laziness in this metaphysical sense, because it's easier to stay in fatigue. Fatigue itself can be a habit because it also enables us to have that feeling of control. So let me know if you need some help with this. I do one-on-one coaching. And again, it's totally natural that we can need other people for a certain part of this process. Like your sleep, again, there's layers to it, right? So it's not even about like you need someone to like hold you accountable or you need to kind of create false urgency. It's about this full reminder, because like once you actually get into that state again, you see your own urgency. There's no question, there's no problem or issue like feeling like, okay, everything is urgent now, because you'll be in that state, you'll be in that like, F it, I have to do this right now. And this can take a long time, right? Like depending on how timid you've been for whatever reasons, right? Like no blame, no shame. You may have to go through several layers still before you really do allow yourself to reach that core where it's like, okay, this is what I need to allow myself to have and allow myself to access. And you may have to spend some time doing like some other things that you also like to really like help ease your way into that, because you never had or were able to give yourself permission to do certain things. It all depends, right? But at the core of all this, like you will have a place where you will kind of like you meet a certain threshold, and you will experience it's kind of like an external forces kind of like holding you back, keeping you back from that threshold. Like they're your own projections, or you'll attract them like to help keep you in place, so to speak. It gets very mystical here, right? Like things get weird at the edge of the matrix once it notices that you're really close to like breaking through. That's what this is. So I hope that has helped some of you. I kind of brought this in again as another channeled message. I was feeling called into this topic and I felt I wanted to talk about this. So this is out here for some of you for sure. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, drop those in the comments. And, thank you so much for watching. And do reach out if you are interested in private coaching on this. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.